Hello students, this is Arpit Gupta on behalf of Shiv Jyoti Educational Group Kota. Students, today we are going to revise our fifth chapter, that is Organizing. As we know, organizing means arrangement of the activities in a chronological order or in a systematic order. In organizing, the top management of the organizations divide all the employees according to their jobs and according to the departments. Okay. So, in organizing, we have to study or we have to see the following points, that is the meaning of organizing. The organizing means we have discussed that it is an arrangement of activities in a systematic order. Next one is the organizational structure. If we talk about this structure, it can be categorized into two types, that is functional structure and divisional structure. Functional structure are divided according to the functions that takes place in the organization. For example, the manufacturing, marketing, sales, productions, these are the various functions which are done in the organizations. If the scale of the organization is large, we have to categorize the activities or we have to make the department according to the functioning of the employees. The next one is divisional structure. Divisional structure basically categorized according to the products of the organization. If we are dealing in the in many types of products, then we have to categorize our organizations according to the divisional structure. The next one is formal organizations. Formal organizations are those organizations in which activities are done in a systematic manner, means we have to follow the chain, and according to that chain the commands or the orders flows in the organization. Next one is delegation. Delegation means giving instructions to the employees. In delegation, the responsibility of performing the activities is of the top management, but these activities are generally performed by the subordinates. In each and every organizations, delegation functions are performed. It is mandatory for the organizations to give the instructions to the subordinates and they ultimately perform their business activities. The next one is informal organization. Informal organizations are those organizations in which there is no flow of the no pattern of flowing the information, means the commands can be flowed according to the wish or will of the person. The next thing is decentralization. Decentralization means giving the powers to the employees to perform their daily activities. If the organization is having the tasks which are to be performed on the daily basis, then it is decentralized to the lower level management, and these workers or the management perform the activities. We have studied two types of concept in this chapter, that is centralization and decentralization. Centralization is the concept in which all the instructions and all the powers are concentrated with the top management, but if we talk about decentralization, the powers are delegated to the lower level management. Okay. Now, the first one is the meaning of organizing. Organizing means arrangement of the activities so that the plans of the organizations can take place, the objective of the organizations can be achieved. Now, if we talk about the process of organizing, the first one is identification and division of work. In first point, we will categorize the command according to the employees and we divide all the activities according to the capabilities and capacities of the individual. Next one is departmentalization, means we categorize the similar activities into one group, into one department, so that each and every person of that particular department perform his or her activities. Assignment of duties. After doing the departmentalization, we assign the duties to the individuals, means now we have categorized the similar activities into a one group. Now the task is assigned to that particular group and all the individual of that particular department will perform their activities. Establishing reporting relationship. Here the command is given and the individual knows to whom he has to report, from whom he has to receive the instructions, from whom he has to submit the reports, all the tasks which he has performed on the particular day. That means each and every report is to be submitted to the superiors and it is already told to the employee that who will be the ultimate superior or ultimately the boss of that particular employee. Now let's talk about the importance of organizing. The first one is the benefit of specializations. If we have categorized the employees according to the department, we get the individual who are specialized in performing that particular activities. एक ऐसा ग्रुप क्रिएट हो जाएगा जिसमें वो सारे इंडिविजुअल्स होंगे जो उस काम को करने में स्पेशलाइज्ड होंगे. ओके, नेक्स्ट वन इज clarity in working relationship. That means we have decided the boss of the employee, we have already given the instructions to the employee to whom he has to report, from whom he has to receive the instruction, who will be the ultimate superior of that particular individual. Optimum utilization of resources. Now if we have categorized the employees according to the department, we can utilize that employee up to his maximum level, maximum efficiencies. अब देखिए, अगर कोई भी ऐसा एम्प्लॉय है जो अच्छा काम परफॉर्म कर सकता है या फिर एक से ज़्यादा एक्टिविटीज़ परफॉर्म कर सकता है, तो हमारा काम क्या रहेगा, उस एम्प्लॉय से कितना बेटर हम ले सकते हैं, कितना मैक्सिमम उससे आउटपुट निकलवा सकते हैं. एडेप्शन टू चेंज. दैट मीन्स द एम्प्लॉय शुड बी वन हु can easily adapt to change, who can easily take the changes which are going through in the organizations, which may be due to the government policies, which may be due to the taste and preferences of the consumers. Whatever may be the conditions, the employee should always be ready to adapt the change. Effective administration. That means if we have categorized the department according to the departmentalization functions, we have departmentalized the employees according to their specialties, according to their specifications, we can easily manage those employees. देखिए क्या होगा, उस डिपार्टमेंट में हम एक हेड बनाएंगे जो अपने डिपार्टमेंट को मैनेज करने के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होगा, और अगर टॉप मैनेजमेंट को किसी भी चीज़ के बारे में कंसल्ट करना है तो वो उनसे डायरेक्टली कंसल्ट कर सकते हैं. Expansion and growth. Now if we have departmentalized, we have categorized the organization, it becomes very easy for an individual for its growth. Means उस organizations को increase करना, बढ़ाना बहुत ज़्यादा easy हो जाता है. देखिए कैसे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं अभी एक ही प्रोडक्ट में डील कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, मैं सिर्फ क्लोथिंग बिजनेस में डील कर रहा हूँ, तो मैंने क्या किया, अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस का सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट अलग बनाया, परचेज डिपार्टमेंट अलग बनाया, रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट डिपार्टमेंट अलग बना लिया. अब जो भी डिपार्टमेंट मैंने बनाए, हर डिपार्टमेंट अपनी अपनी एक्टिविटीज़ परफॉर्म करेगा. अब मान के चलिए मैं क्लोथिंग बिजनेस से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स बिजनेस में एंटर कर रहा हूँ, तो मुझे क्या है, अब उस इलेक्ट्रॉनिक बिजनेस के लिए मेरे को क्या करना है, वही डिपार्टमेंट वापस से बनाने पड़ेंगे. तो मेरे लिए जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का स्ट्रक्चर ऑलरेडी चल रहा है, तो उसके साथ अगर मैं एक्सपेंशन करता हूँ तो मेरे को एक्सपेंशन करना क्या हो जाएगा, ईजी हो जाएगा. नेक्स्ट वन इज स्पैन ऑफ मैनेजमेंट. Span of management means how a superior can effectively manage their subordinates. Means एक जो superior है वो अपने नीचे के लोगों को कितना effectively manage कर सकता है, वही चीज़ क्या होती है, span of management. अब देखिए एक सिचुएशन हमारे सामने आती है कि हर पर्सन की मैनेजमेंट करने की कैपेसिटी होती है कि भाई एक पर्सन 10 लोगों को इफेक्टिवली मैनेज कर सकता है, एक पर्सन 20 लोगों को इफेक्टिवली मैनेज कर सकता है. तो अब क्या होगा कि जैसे जैसे हमारे नीचे सुपीरियर्स की बात आती है, क्योंकि जितने भी मैनेजर्स हैं वो सुपीरियर लेवल में आएंगे, वो सारे मिडिल लेवल मैनेजमेंट में आएंगे, तो एक सुपीरियर नीचे वाले लोगों को जितना भी इफेक्टिवली मैनेज कर पाएगा, उसी कंसेप्ट का नाम क्या है, स्पैन ऑफ मैनेजमेंट. नेक्स्ट वन इज फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर. अकॉर्डिंग टू द फंक्शंस, मीन्स इफ वी आर कैटेगराइजिंग द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अकॉर्डिंग टू द फंक्शंस, इट इज नोन एज फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर. For example, we have categorized the organization into purchase department, we have categorized it into the sales department. Now if we talk about these all the department, these are the separate functions which are being performed in the organization. तो जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को किसी पर्टिकुलर फंक्शंस के बेसिस पर कैटेगराइज किया जाता है, तो वही चीज़ क्या होती है हमारे लिए, फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर. डिविजनल स्ट्रक्चर की बात की जाए ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ प्रोडक्ट. इफ वी वांट टू मैन्युफैक्चर 2 or more than 2 products, then it is mandatory for the organization to divide it into a divisional structure. अब होगा क्या, देखिए फ़ायदा क्या होता है कि देखिए जब हमें डिपार्टमेंट हमने प्रोडक्ट वाइज डिवाइड कर दिए, तो हमारे लिए ये आइडेंटिफाई करना इजी हो जाता है कि भाई कौन सी यूनिट तो हमारी प्रॉफिट मेकिंग है और कौन सी लॉस मेकिंग. ओके, सपोज मैं 5 to 6 प्रोडक्ट्स में डील कर रहा हूँ और मेरा एक जो 5th यूनिट है वो इतना रेवेन्यू नहीं दे रही या फिर वो लॉस में जा रही है, तो मेरे को ये आइडेंटिफाई करना कि मेरे को ये यूनिट बंद करनी पड़ेगी, इजी हो जाएगा. लेकिन अगर मैंने कैटेगराइज नहीं किया, मैंने डिवाइड नहीं किया, तो मेरे लिए आइडेंटिफाई करना टफ टास्क हो जाएगा कि भाई कौन सी यूनिट मेरे को बंद करनी है, कौन सा मैन्युफैक्चर मेरे को कंटिन्यू रखना है। तो जब आप मल्टी प्रोडक्ट में डील करते हैं, जब आप एक ही प्रोडक्ट में नहीं जा रहे, मल्टी प्रोडक्ट्स मैन्युफैक्चर करते हैं, तो आपको क्या करना है, प्रोडक्ट वाइज अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को क्लासिफाई करना पड़ेगा। Next one is formal organizations. As we have already seen, the formal organization means a structure which an individual has to follow in the particular organization. Means we have to follow the chain which has been prescribed by our superiors. Means अगर मेरे को टॉप लेवल से बात करनी है तो मैं डायरेक्टली बात नहीं कर सकता, एक सेट तरीका है, मेरे को अपने अल्टीमेट सुपीरियर को बात करनी पड़ेगी और वो मेरे कमांड्स को किस तक पहुंचाएगा, टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट तक पहुंचाएगा। ओके And if we talk about informal organization where there is no set pattern, communication किसी भी तरीके से किया जा सकता है। Means when the organization is not following any set pattern, the communication can flows according to the will or wish of the particular person, then it is the informal type of organization. The next one is delegation. Delegation means giving the responsibility, that means giving the instructions to the subordinates. देखिए अब डेलीगेशन होता क्या है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी जो काम करने की है वो किसकी है, सारे सुपीरियर्स की, टास्क जो कंप्लीट करना किसको करना है, सुपीरियर्स को करना है, बट जो ऑर्डर्स दिए जा रहे हैं वो किसको दिए जा रहे हैं, सबऑर्डिनेट्स को। मींस जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी काम करने की किसकी थी, मिडिल लेवल और टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट की, वो काम किससे कराया जा रहा है, सबऑर्डिनेट लेवल से। तो जब हम हमारा काम किसी को ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं, दैट प्रोसेस इज नोन एज डेलीगेशन। Now let's discuss about the difference between the functional structure and the divisional structure. First one is formation. As we have discussed, it is based on the functions which has to be performed in the organization, and divisional structure is basically based on the product, the multi-product we are manufacturing in this particular organization. Specialization, it is functional specialization, means each department is specialized in performing his or her activities. The next one is product specialization. Here the topic and the thing which is to be kept in mind is the product which organization is manufacturing. Responsibility, who is ultimately responsible is very difficult in the functional organizations. We cannot identify the responsibility of the individual, but if we talk about divisional structure, we can easily identify the responsibility of an individual. अब उस यूनिट के लिए जो प्रोडक्ट हम बना रहे हैं, उस प्रोडक्ट के लिए अल्टीमेटली कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, कौन उस प्रोडक्ट को अच्छे से बना सकता है, किसकी जिम्मेदारी है उस पूरे यूनिट को मैनेज करने की, यह आइडेंटिफाई करना बहुत ईजी हो जाता है। मैनेजरियल की बात की जाए तो डिफिकल्ट एज each manager, because in functional structure we cannot identify the manager who is ultimately performing the activities. तो होगा क्या कि भाई जब हम इसकी बात करें फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर की, तो कौन से मैनेजर को क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी देनी है, कौन से मैनेजर को क्या काम देना है, वो हमारे लिए आइडेंटिफाई करना टफ हो जाता है। लेकिन अगर डिविजनल स्ट्रक्चर की बात की जाए, बिकॉज एक ही मैनेजर बहुत सारे मल्टी फंक्शंस परफॉर्म कर रहा है, बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज परफॉर्म कर रहा है, तो हमारे लिए क्या होगा, इजी टास्क हो जाएगा। कॉस्ट की बात करें, ये इकोनॉमिक होता है क्योंकि फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर में हम लोग ज़्यादा कैटेगराइजेशन नहीं कर रहे, बस हम क्या कर रहे हैं, फंक्शंस के बेसिस पे डिवाइड किया जा रहा है। कोई भी यूनिट हमने बनाई, सपोज हम बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं और उसी मैनेजर से सारे यूनिट्स को मैनेज करवा रहे हैं, तो हमारे लिए क्या हो जाएगा, इकोनॉमिक, क्योंकि एक ही पर्सन बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज़ को परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं। बट बात करें डिविजनल स्ट्रक्चर की, क्योंकि ये डुप्लीकेट वर्क होते हैं, क्योंकि हर डिपार्टमेंट के लिए हमने अलग अलग मैनेजर्स रखे हुए हैं, अलग अलग लोग रखे हुए हैं, तो ये हमारे लिए क्या हो जाएगा, बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्टली टास्क हो जाएगा। कोऑर्डिनेशन, अगर मल्टी नेशनल प्रोडक्ट या मल्टी प्रोडक्ट की बात की जाए तो कोऑर्डिनेशन फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर में क्या हो जाता है, बहुत टफ हो जाता है, बिकॉज हमें किसे कोऑर्डिनेट करना है, कौन सा बंदा कौन से डिपार्टमेंट को हैंडल कर रहा है, कौन सा पर्सन किस प्रोडक्ट को डील कर रहा है, वो चीज़ हमें आइडेंटिफाई करनी पड़ेगी। But if we talk about divisional structure, as it is based on the product wise, so we can easily categorize, we can easily identify the individual, although in the multinational product also. Now there are some elements of the delegation. The first one is authority. Authority means the power. Okay, the person who is having the power is ultimately responsible for performing that activity. So basically the next thing is responsibility. it is the duty or the person who has to perform any activity, it is his responsibility to perform that work. मीन्स क्या है, अगर एम्प्लॉयज़ को कोई काम दिया हुआ है तो उसको कंप्लीट करना उसकी क्या हो जाती है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हो जाती है. Accountability. Now, if you are performing any activity, you are ultimately accountable for its performance. Means आपका जो बॉस है वो आपसे पूछने वाला है कि भाई अगर टास्क पूरा नहीं हुआ तो उसके पीछे क्या रीजंस थे, क्या सर्कमस्टेंसेस थी जिसकी वजह से आप टास्क को पूरा नहीं कर पाए. सो द वर्क यू आर परफॉर्मिंग इज then you are ultimately answerable or responsible for that particular task. Now let's discuss about the difference between the authority, responsibility and accountability. The first one is the meaning. Authority means right to command, that a person who is ultimately having the power is having the right to command to their subordinates. Responsibility means obligations or the duty which we have to perform, means जो भी orders हमें receive हुए अब हमारी duty हो जाती है उस काम को पूरा करने की. Accountability, as we know, it is an answerability, means if task has not been performed या फिर कोई problem आ रही है तो उस चीज़ के लिए answerable भी कौन होगा, वही person जिसको responsibility दी गई है या जिसको duty दी गई है. Delegation. Now, if we talk about authority, authority cannot be delegated or it can be delegated up to a very minimum level. But responsibility cannot be delegated, means जिस person की responsibility है काम करने की उसी person को वो काम complete करना पड़ेगा. But accountability, the accountability can also be not delegated, means क्या होगा कि जिस person को answer देना है, जिस person को वो काम करने के लिए दिया गया था, ultimately answerable भी वही होगा. ओरिजिन. जनरली जो अथॉरिटी होती है वो फॉर्मल पोजीशंस में, मींस फॉर्मल लाइन ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में होती है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे एक सेट पैटर्न होता है काम को करने का, जो भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस रिसीव्ड होते हैं वो टॉप मैनेजमेंट से होते हैं. सो द अल्टीमेटली इट इज परफॉर्म्ड इन द फॉर्मल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस. बट if we talk about the responsibility, it arises from the delegations, the task we have delegated to our subordinates, then the responsibility functioning is started. Next one is accountability. It is also arises from the responsibility, that means a person who is responsible is ultimately answerable for that particular task. Flow. Generally authority flows from superior to subordinates, means the bosses is having the ultimate power to command their subordinates. Organization में ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि subordinates काम कर रहे हैं और superiors subordinates order दे रहे हैं और superiors perform कर रहे हैं. होता क्या है, ऑर्डर्स जितने भी रिसीव होते हैं वो कहाँ से होते हैं, सुपीरियर से, और उनको परफॉर्म किसको करना होता है, सबऑर्डिनेट्स को. रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. जनरली रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फ्लोज फ्रॉम सबऑर्डिनेट्स टू सुपीरियर्स. जो लोग लोअर लेवल पे काम कर रहे हैं उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ज़्यादा होगी और जो टॉप मोस्ट पोजिशन पे बैठा है उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या होगी, कम होगी. लेकिन अगर बात की जाए अथॉरिटी की तो अथॉरिटी सबसे ज़्यादा किसके पास होगी, टॉप मैनेजमेंट के पास, और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी किसके पास ज़्यादा होगी, लोअर लेवल मैनेजमेंट के पास. तो बोथ अथॉरिटी एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी मूव्स इन द अपोजिट डायरेक्शन. नेक्स्ट इज द अकाउंटेबिलिटी. Generally it also flows from subordinate to superiors, because the subordinates are ultimately responsible for answering the queries which has been put in front of them. Means अगर जो टास्क नहीं हुआ, जो काम परफॉर्म नहीं हुआ, उन्हें कौन कर रहा था, सबॉर्डिनेट्स कर रहे थे, तो उसके लिए आंसरेबल भी कौन होगा, वही सबॉर्डिनेट्स होंगे. Now the next two important terms is decentralization and centralization. Decentralization means when the power is delegated to the subordinates, means when the organization is performing the daily or the routine activities, then these tasks are performed to the subordinates, so they can manage the activities according to their own will. But if we talk about centralizations, here the task is not assigned to the subordinates, the power is kept with the top level management, where there is any kind of special skills required, where any kind of activities requires special skills planning, then these tasks are performed under the centralization. Now centralization and decentralization, if we talk about the meaning, it refers to concentration of powers at higher level only, because here the plannings are required, so all the powers are concentrated in the hand of the top management. But if we talk about decentralization, it includes distribution of powers, because here the daily activities are performed, so it is the powers are transferred to the subordinates level. Authority. Here the top management retains the maximum authority because we are not transferring any powers, we are not giving any powers to our subordinates. So, it is a concentration of power with the top level management. But if we talk about decentralizations, it is authority is systematically divided, means the person who is having the ultimate power, the instructions or the powers are given to that particular individual. Suitable. Generally, centralization is suitable for the small business because it is easy for an individual to manage the business activities. But if we talk about decentralization, it generally works in the large scale organizations where we are having various manufacturing units, where we have having various retail outlets, then the centralization functions will work. Freedom. Here the managers or the middle level management is having the less freedom because the task is not assigned to them, the powers are not given to them. But if we talk about decentralizations, the manager is having more freedom because they are performing the daily activities and the top management has delegated the power to the middle level or the lower level management. Now students, let us discuss the important question of this particular chapter. Now the first question is, what are the steps in the process of organizing? Means if the organization is to be organizing process is to be performed, it has to be followed in the following procedures. Now the first one is identification and division of work. That means we have to identify the correct individual and then ultimately give or assign the task to that individual. The second one is departmentalization. That means we have to categorize the individual according to the departments, according to the functioning of the employees in the organizing. Third one is assignment of duties. Now after doing the departmentalization, we ultimately assign the duties to an individual who is ultimately responsible for performing the activities. Now the next question is the importance of the organization, that is benefit of specialization. If we have categorized the individual according to their function, we can get the best individuals who are ultimately responsible for performing their activities. Second one is clarity in working relationship. That means each and every person know his authority and responsibility. Means each and every individual knows what task he has to perform and who is ultimate superior of that individual. Effective administration, that means it provides clear description of job each and every individual has to perform. Optimum utilization of resources, that means if we have categorized the individual according to his functioning, we can prevent the overlapping activities of the organization. Now each and every individual will perform his or her task so that overlapping activities can be avoided. Okay. The next thing is adaptation to change. That means an individual can easily adapt the change which is going in the environment. That means employees should be ready for adoption of new change which is taking place in the organizations. Okay. Okay. The next thing is discuss the elements of delegation. There are, as we know, there are three elements of the delegation. That means first one is authority, second one is responsibility and third one is accountability. Now the authority means right of an individual to guide or to give the instructions to the subordinates. Authority means generally related with the power an individual is performing. As we go in the upward direction in the organization, the authority or the power of the individual increases. Next is the responsibility. Responsibility means an obligation or the duty of an individual to perform the assigned task. That means authority moves from downward to upward and the responsibility moves in the opposite direction. Third one is accountability. That means a person who is ultimately performing the duty is accountable or answerable for that particular task. That means जिस person की responsibility थी ultimately वही answerable होगा अगर organizations के targets achieve नहीं हो पाते. And the next And the last important topic is the span of management. It is the number of subordinates under our superiors. How effectively and efficiently an individual can effectively managed by his superiors. So students, I hope you have understood the chapter, you have seen the video of this particular chapter, and you have understood the main concept of this chapter. So we are concluding our session here only. Thank you and have a nice day.